That's when Dad started the garage. And we lived at first up on Main Street where, well, what's the name of the bank now? It was Boatman's. That bank on Main Street.
Yeah, it's Bank of America now.
Bank of America now.
I think, yeah.
If it hasn't changed, the reason. There was a double house, I guess you'd call it a duplex now, there, and we lived in one side of it up there. And some people named Roties, R-O-T-H-E, lived on the other side. And I was always crazy about cornbread. I remember I'd go, if they had cornbread, I'd go over there and say, my mommy never makes cornbread, and we had it almost every other day or so. But if they had cornbread, I begged for more. And let's see, when we were, I remember we had chickens up there too, and I had a pet rooster then. And banty hens we had too. I took that out of that picture.
I bet there wasn't a lot of traffic back then.
Oh heavens, no.
Was it a gravel street?
Yeah, I think it was, because every year they would oil it.
And that was never cobblestone, was it?
No.
O'Fallon was never cobblestone.
No, it wasn't. But I was trying to decide, the main street to O'Fallon before this Highway 40 was built went down Elm Street. And I bet it came down Main Street too then. I don't know how else it would have got to Elm Street, because Elm Street doesn't go all the way through in the west there. So that was the main street to get to St. Charles or someplace. But there weren't too many cars in those days. And let's see, what else do I remember? Well, when we moved from there, we moved down on Elm Street, that big house where I lived the rest of my life until I got married down there.
I guess Marcy was born at that time, or?
Not then yet.
Loretta was.
When we moved down on Elm Street, I was the baby. I was still,
okay. Right.
I was still the baby, because there's 6 years between Loretta and I. And Loretta and Marcy were both born down there on Elm Street. But I think one of my earliest memories is moving. Irene pushed her doll buggy down the street, and I had a teddy bear on wheels. And I was pulling that teddy bear. And I think I actually remember that. And we were moving. That's the way we were moving, down on Elm. And that was a big old house. We had 3 rooms on one side, and then a room in between, and then 3 rooms on the other side with a big hallway in between. And hard to heat. The ceilings were, I don't know, 9 or 10 foot ceilings, extra high ceilings. And there was living room, dining room, and kitchen on the one side. And then Dick's bedroom was in between one, and then on the other room was Mom and Dad's bedroom, and the two other ones were girls. I had the front bedroom almost all the time. Irene and Loretta slept in the middle bedroom when Irene was home. And when she left, Loretta and Marcy slept in there. I always had a room to myself. Guess nobody could put up with me, I don't know. And I remember how cold it would get. We had a heating stove in the dining room, big old thing, and of course the cooking range in the kitchen, and then a little heater in Mom and Dad's room. Well, that end bedroom of mine got pretty darn cold. I'd grab my clothes and run for a stove to get dressed every morning. Then when we had a porch all the way across the front and a screened-in porch all the way across the back. And when finally decided to put in a bathroom, we put it into that screen porch in the back. And then everybody had to go through Dick's room to get to the bathroom. But that was something special because not everybody had bathrooms in those days. And my girlfriends would wait till they got to my house to use the bathroom rather than go outside at their house.
You had electricity.
I can remember when we had lamps. Barely, I remember.
When was that?
Just lamps. Electricity. Oh, I was really pretty young when they started the plant. The power plant here in O'Fallon was there at the railroad track where it's E.R. Jones now. And that was the electric plant, and it was DC current, not AC. Everything was, any appliances we got like irons or anything had to be for DC current. And we had like one light bulb in the middle of the room. That was electricity. We didn't have much in the way of lamps and things, and not at first. What else? Oh, Dad had a great big garden down there in Elm Street. He grew everything. Did I say that last night?
No, I don't think you did. You couldn't get vegetables in the...
Yeah.
Oh.
We couldn't buy vegetables during the wintertime. There was no place, no market to buy them.
Guess you didn't get oranges and grapefruit either.
No, we got oranges at Christmas.
Oh.
Grapefruit, I don't think were heard of. I don't remember having grapefruit. But we had a pear tree, an apple tree, and a couple peach trees in the back of our place. Actually, it was in the back of the chicken yard. We had a chicken house too, and a chicken yard, and then these fruit trees were to the back of that chicken yard. And the pear tree had a nice branch, and then were just nice to sit in. I'd grab my storybook and crawl up that tree, and there's where they'd find me if they were looking for me, reading a book. And then we'd have to wrap the pears in newspapers. Did I say that last night?
I don't believe so. I don't remember.
And we had a fruit cellar. We had a shed out to the back of the building, the back of the house. And upstairs was the washroom. And downstairs was a fruit cellar. And they had bins to put like potatoes and sweet potatoes, and we'd wrap the pears in newspapers. Why? They kept better for some reason. And apples we'd have down there.
And when did your mom start canning? Was she canning back then?
Yeah, she'd can all summer long. We'd can. Yeah, I talked about that, didn't I, with the pairing?
I don't think you said it in front of the camera.
Oh, didn't I?
No,
Oh.
I don't think so.
We, Mom would can 200 to 300 cans of stuff every summer. And the cans were actually tin cans. And she would seal them with sealing wax. The top was a flat piece, and then she would melt this wax on the stove. She had a special container that she kept it in all the time because, of course, you couldn't get it out of it once you got it in. And it was, you'd melt the wax and pour it around that top of that can, and it would seal the can. There was quite a bit of spoilage, too. Every once in a while, a can would spoil. Didn't get it sealed good or something. And then, after a while, they started coal packing. And we had a big kettle with wire that fit into the kettle, and it held 8-quart jars. And you'd put the vegetables or whatever you were canning into the jars, pack it in, and fill it with hot water, fill around, the jars, put a lid on it, and then, but not tighten it completely, tighten it, and then go back a notch so that so they wouldn't explode, I guess. And then put them on and boil them for different vegetables took different amount of time.
No.
And we canned everything like that.
Now, did you have ice back then? You
Ice-
didn't have refrigerators, I guess.
No,
right?
we had an ice box, and the
So where'd you get the
ice man came every day.
Yeah.
Came down the street, and if you wanted ice, you put a card in the window, and then he'd bring it in.
Was he in O'Fallon?
Hmm
Okay.
I don't know where he got the ice. And then, of course, when the ice melted, you had to empty the pan under the box. A little bit different living in those days.
Yeah.
And every night we would go down to Mr. Ermeling's down the street. He lived where what is there now? It was Callahan's funeral parlor. I think it's a church of some sort now. Anyhow,
Yeah.
that was Mr. Ermeling's house there, and he owned the property behind it enough to have a cow. He had a field behind there, and I think that field would probably be O'Fallon Plaza. And so that was one of my jobs. Every evening I'd take a syrup bucket. I don't think it was a gallon, maybe it was a half a gallon. Anyhow, go down and get a bucket of milk, bring it home. And then quite often in the morning, one of us would go up to Fearling's Meat Market, which is on the corner of Elm and Main Street, and we'd get a quarter's worth of steak for supper.
How much
Quarter's
was
worth
that?
of steak for 8 people.
Yeah.
8
Now-
or 6. 6, I guess.
Now your dad had chickens then too. though.
Dad had
Is
chickens.
that the only type of livestock you had?
Yeah. You would quite often on Sunday we'd have chicken, and he'd go out and chop a head off and dress it, which he'd put it in a bucket